Jay-Z and Beyoncé are often painted as the ultimate power couple, music royalty with wealth, fame, and influence most people can only dream of. But behind the glamorous image, their relationship has always carried a shadow of mystery. For years, fans and insiders have whispered about the strange timeline of how they met, the unusual secrecy around their marriage, and the unsettling stories that just don't seem to add up. Some say Beyoncé was groomed from a young age. Others claim their marriage was more of a business deal than a love story. And then there are the chilling rumors about a woman who got too close to Jay-Z and never lived to tell her side of it. Whether you believe the conspiracies or not, the questions surrounding their relationship refuse to go away. And once you start connecting the dots, the picture that emerges is far darker than most people ever realized. Every great love story has a beginning, but when it comes to Jay-Z and Beyoncé, even that part is shrouded in contradictions. Depending on who you ask, and when you ask, the story changes. Beyoncé has always insisted that she met Jay-Z at 18 and didn't start dating him until she was 19. On the surface, that sounds innocent enough. But Jay-Z himself once hinted they first crossed paths earlier, when she was just 16, a claim backed up by photos that show him around her at that exact time. In one shot, taken just months after her 16th birthday, Jay-Z is seen on the set of Destiny's Child's No 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 music video. Another image from early 1998 places him at one of the group's performances while Beyoncé was still just a teenager. So, which version is true? Did their relationship really wait until she was an adult, or was the story adjusted later to make it look that way? Even interviews from years apart don't line up. In a sit-down with Oprah, Beyoncé described spending a year of phone conversations with Jay-Z before dating him, which would mean those calls started when she was under 18. Around the same time, Jay-Z casually told Charlie Rose they had met a decade earlier, which would date their connection back to 1997. Again, she was still underage then. Fans couldn't help but notice how these small slips didn't add up. And while Beyoncé has always stood firm on her version, the conflicting details suggest there's more to the story than either of them has admitted. One thing is clear. Jay-Z was a constant figure in her life long before she was ready for a serious relationship. And when you look at how young she really was, it raises uncomfortable questions about what kind of foundation their love story was actually built on. But the whispers don't stop there, because once the timeline gets blurry, another even darker topic surfaces: the question of power, control, and whether Beyoncé ever truly had a choice in how her life unfolded. When people talk about Jay-Z and Beyoncé, the age gap is always the elephant in the room. 12 years might not sound extreme once both people are grown adults, but when one of them is barely stepping into adulthood, it completely changes the balance of power. And in Beyoncé's case, the way she has described their early relationship only makes that imbalance harder to ignore. In multiple interviews, Beyoncé has openly said that Jay-Z taught her how to be a woman, and even shaped her into the leader she eventually became. On the surface, that sounds like praise for a supportive partner. But for critics, it sounds more like the kind of language you hear from someone who was molded rather than nurtured. If you're still a teenager when a 30-something man steps into your life and positions himself as your teacher, your guide, even your decision-maker, is that love or is it control? Some fans believe it looks uncomfortably similar to grooming. The idea is simple. An older figure builds trust and emotional closeness with someone much younger, waiting until they're technically of age before making the relationship official. And that's exactly how Beyoncé described things: years of phone calls, long conversations, and slow-building intimacy before they officially started dating. Adding to the speculation is the role of Beyoncé's mother, Tina Knowles. Rumors have long suggested that she viewed Jay-Z not just as a partner for her daughter, but as a strategic move for her career. Aligning Beyoncé with one of the biggest rappers in the world would cement her position as a superstar, and some insiders claim Tina actively encouraged the relationship, even if Beyoncé wasn't fully ready. From that perspective, the romance starts to look less like a fairy tale and more like a carefully orchestrated business arrangement, with Beyoncé herself caught in the middle. And when you connect those dots, it makes the next chapter in their story even stranger, because despite years of speculation, when the wedding finally happened, it wasn't the massive public spectacle fans expected. Instead, it was one of the most secretive celebrity marriages of all time, which only left people wondering, what exactly were they trying to hide? For a couple as famous as Jay-Z and Beyoncé, you'd expect their wedding to be the kind of event that dominates headlines for weeks. A spectacle of luxury, star-studded guests, and paparazzi swarming from every angle. But when they finally tied the knot in 2008, it was the exact opposite. No flashing cameras, no glossy magazine exclusives, not even a single photo leaked from the ceremony. Just a small, private gathering tucked away from the world. At first glance, it seemed romantic. Two of the biggest celebrities on Earth choosing intimacy over spectacle. But for many fans, the secrecy only fueled the doubts. Why keep something so monumental so deeply hidden? Some believed it was about control, managing the narrative and keeping questions about their timeline buried. After all, the whispers about Beyoncé being underage when Jay-Z first pursued her hadn't gone away. Others speculated that a secret wedding meant there was something to conceal about how their relationship really started. Adding to the suspicion were the rumors that circled for years before they finally walked down the aisle. In 2004, Jay-Z was overheard at a party toasting Beyoncé and hinting he would marry her soon. Yet whenever asked directly, Beyoncé dismissed the speculation, insisting she had no immediate plans. By the time they did marry 4 years later, the public had been strung along for so long that the sudden low-key ceremony felt less like romance and more like a quiet cover-up. Even Jay-Z himself admitted later that secrecy was necessary to protect their sanity. "You have to," he said, "or you'll go insane in this type of business." But his explanation didn't calm the doubts. Because if their relationship was truly solid, why did it feel like every detail was being hidden from view? And that's when people began to look past the wedding and into the marriage itself. Because according to one man who worked closely with them, the truth behind Jay-Z and Beyoncé's relationship wasn't built on love at all, but on image, money, and power. If the secret wedding raised eyebrows, the claims that came later only made the picture darker. One of the loudest voices questioning the legitimacy of Jay-Z and Beyoncé's marriage was a man known as Uncle Ron, a celebrity bodyguard who once worked closely with the couple. According to him, what the world sees as a love story is really something else entirely. A carefully calculated business deal designed to maintain an image and expand their empire. In interviews, Uncle Ron didn't mince words. He described their relationship as transactional, explaining that love had very little to do with it. He claimed that everything, from public appearances to their family image, was orchestrated to keep the power couple narrative alive. He even said he was pressured into silence, intimidated after attempting to speak out about what really went on behind closed doors. Then there's Jay-Z's own admission. In a candid moment, he confessed that their relationship wasn't 100% built on truth. He compared it to building a mansion on a cracked foundation, beautiful from the outside, but flawed at its core. Coming from anyone else, it might sound like a reflection on personal struggles. But from Jay-Z, it only added weight to the claims that something about their marriage was more performance than reality. Of course, skeptics question Uncle Ron's credibility, pointing out that he made his statements years after working with the couple. But the timing of his revelations, and his sudden silence after speaking out, left fans uneasy. Some even speculated that his willingness to expose them may have cost him his life, after his final video surfaced just before his death in 2023. True or not, Uncle Ron's allegations added fuel to a fire that was already burning. Because while questions about power, secrecy, and control surrounded the couple, another story was unfolding, one that would drag their names into an even darker conspiracy involving a woman who came dangerously close to exposing everything. If Uncle Ron's revelations weren't unsettling enough, the story of Kathy White took everything to a whole new level. Kathy wasn't a random name from the rumor mill. She was Jay-Z's alleged former mistress, someone insiders claim had been connected to him for years. What made her different from all the other women Jay-Z was linked to? Kathy was reportedly preparing to break her silence and go public about her relationship with him. But just as whispers of her tell-all began circulating, tragedy struck. Kathy White suddenly passed away at the age of 28, reportedly from a brain aneurysm. On paper, it looked like a freak medical event. Tragic, but natural. Yet the timing was far too convenient for many to ignore. She died only days after allegedly confiding in friends that she was ready to reveal everything about Jay-Z, including details that could have shattered his marriage and his empire. Fans immediately speculated online, connecting dots that may or may not exist. Some claimed the sudden nature of her death didn't add up, while others suggested powerful people could have ensured she stayed silent forever. Was it truly a medical emergency, or was something more sinister at play? There's no evidence to support foul play, but the sheer coincidence kept the conspiracy alive. What makes the story even creepier is how quickly it seemed to vanish from the mainstream press. Outside of scattered blog posts and whispers on forums, Kathy's death barely registered in major headlines. To many, that silence spoke volumes. It felt less like a forgotten story and more like one that was deliberately buried. And it wasn't just Kathy. Because the longer you look at Jay-Z and Beyoncé's inner circle, the more stories you find of people who suddenly disappear, fall out of favor, or face devastating consequences after crossing paths with the power couple. Which raises the question, was Kathy White really just an isolated tragedy, or part of a much bigger pattern? If Kathy White's story shook fans, the speculation around Beyoncé and Jay-Z's daughter, Blue Ivy, exploded into an entirely different level of controversy. For years, whispers have circulated that Blue Ivy might not even be Beyoncé's biological child. The theories range from claims of a surrogate pregnancy to suggestions that someone else could be Blue Ivy's real mother. And while most of it sits firmly in the realm of internet rumor, the way Beyoncé handled her pregnancy only made the speculation louder. Back in 2011, when she announced she was expecting, the world was ecstatic. But one interview moment quickly turned bizarre. During a televised appearance, Beyoncé sat down in a tight dress, and what looked like her baby bump appeared to fold unnaturally. Viewers instantly replayed the footage, with some swearing it was proof of a fake belly. Others claimed she was wearing a prosthetic bump to cover the fact that a surrogate was actually carrying the baby. Adding fuel to the fire were whispers about another woman, Claudia Jordan, the former model and reality star. Some online conspiracists suggested Claudia could have secretly been involved as a surrogate, or even as a biological link to Blue Ivy. The theory spiraled so wildly that Claudia herself had to address it publicly. She firmly denied every claim, calling the rumors ridiculous and making it clear she had nothing to do with Beyoncé's child. But the internet never really lets go. To this day, videos, blog posts, and Reddit threads continue dissecting every piece of footage from Beyoncé's pregnancy, looking for signs of deception. Was the baby bump incident just an awkward wardrobe malfunction, or proof of a carefully constructed lie? What's undeniable is how fiercely protective Beyoncé and Jay-Z have been of Blue Ivy's image. From trademarking her name almost immediately after her birth to keeping her shielded from paparazzi during her early years, they've treated her less like a celebrity child and more like a brand. And for some, that's the clearest sign that Blue Ivy represents more than just their daughter. She's the living, breathing centerpiece of their empire. But if Blue Ivy symbolized the future, another figure from Jay-Z's past was threatening to drag everything into the shadows again. Because rumors about a hidden son, one Jay-Z has allegedly fought to keep out of the spotlight, have refused to disappear. If internet rumors weren't already enough, things took a more explosive turn when Jaguar Wright, the outspoken R&B singer known for exposing industry secrets, began sharing her own disturbing claims about Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Unlike faceless internet commenters, Jaguar had insider experience. She had worked alongside some of music's biggest names, and her willingness to speak out made her impossible to ignore. Jaguar accused Jay-Z of being one of the most manipulative figures in the industry, someone who would do anything to maintain power. She painted Beyoncé as less of a victim and more of an accomplice. a woman who allegedly turned a blind eye to keep her throne as the queen of pop. Wright even suggested that Beyoncé's rise to superstardom wasn't organic at all, but carefully constructed by Jay-Z's deals, alliances, and ruthless tactics behind the scenes. What made her statements go viral wasn't just the content, but the tone. She spoke with the conviction of someone who had seen it all firsthand, hinting at dark rituals, shady contracts, and careers that mysteriously ended when artists refused to play along. For fans who already questioned Beyoncé and Jay-Z's relationship, Jaguar's words felt like confirmation of everything they suspected. Of course, the mainstream dismissed her as bitter, unstable, or simply chasing clout. But Wright didn't back down. She doubled down in interviews, saying she wasn't afraid of the consequences and that the public deserved to know how deep the manipulation really went. Her allegations gave new life to older theories about Jay-Z's ties to secret societies, Beyoncé's alleged use of symbolism in her performances, and the idea that their empire wasn't just about music, it was about control. And just like with Uncle Ron and Kathy White, Jaguar's willingness to talk turned her into a target. She claimed she was harassed, stalked, and even sabotaged after speaking out. Whether those experiences were connected or coincidental, they only added fuel to the fire that powerful forces were working to keep her quiet. But Jaguar Wright wasn't the only one sounding alarms. Other voices in the industry, producers, managers, even fellow artists, have hinted at similar shadows surrounding Jay-Z and Beyoncé. And when you connect all of these stories together, the picture that emerges is far from the fairy tale romance the world has been sold. From the blurred beginnings of their relationship to the secretive wedding, from Uncle Ron's explosive claims to Kathy White's mysterious death, the story of Jay-Z and Beyoncé is filled with contradictions, speculation, and shadows. Every time one rumor fades, another takes its place, whether it's questions about Blue Ivy, whispers of a hidden son, or Jaguar Wright's chilling industry allegations. On the surface, they are music's ultimate power couple, billionaires, icons, parents to a dynasty. But peel back the glossy magazine covers, and what you find is a story riddled with secrecy, manipulation, and unanswered questions. Were they truly soulmates who built an empire together, or business partners locked in a carefully controlled image? Did the controversies surrounding their timeline, their family, and their inner circle expose cracks in the foundation, or are they just the inevitable price of being the most powerful couple in the industry? In the end, only Jay-Z and Beyoncé know the truth about their marriage and the empire they've built. But the fact that so many questions still linger, decades after their story began, proves one thing. The world isn't convinced we've been told the whole story. And maybe we never will.